Hey, before we get going, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, eToro. Let's talk about trading. Maybe your MO is just stacking sats once a week, or you're one of those cowboy altcoin traders who go deep into technical analysis. I don't know. Maybe you're just a muggle and you're trying to get into this whole cyber cash thing. Maybe you actually do want to put some skin in the game, but you have no idea where to begin. Now there's one trading app for all of that. eToro. It's a trading platform and mobile app that lets you buy and sell cryptocurrency. And it's also the #1 social trading platform in the world. Listeners, you might even be asking, what the hell is a social trading platform? Copy trading is a feature that lets you mirror the actions of top traders on the platform. This way, you can learn about due diligence and all the other technical things it might take months to pick up on your own just by copying the behavior of the top traders on the platform. So head over to eToro.com and get started on your portfolio today. eToro, smart crypto trading made easy.
Welcome. This is the Bitcoin Magazine podcast. I'm Dave Hollerith. This episode, we've got an interview with Catherine Coley, CEO of Binance US. Some context here. Binance is the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world, but historically, they haven't competed in the US. That is until a few months ago, when Binance US launched. To remain compliant with regulators, Binance US is its own company, but their trading volume is counted towards Binance's overall global transaction footprint. In October, during the time that Binance US launched, Binance captured 60% of legitimate cryptocurrency trading volume, their highest share of the global market since March. In this interview, Coley explains how Binance US happened, what it's been like to face competitive and regulatory hurdles launching a cryptocurrency exchange, and now what stage they're at, coming to the end of their first quarter. Trying to understand the inner workings of what makes a cryptocurrency exchange tick is obviously pretty crucial to the industry. A recent research report put out by The Block actually showed that about 40% of the professionals who do work in cryptocurrency work for an exchange. That's all well and good, but there's a majority of people out there who are speaking and talking about how if the industry is to continue to grow, other types of businesses have to become profitable. A big area that's seen a lot of promise in the last couple of months is lending and borrowing. Our show sponsor, the Celsius Network, is one of these types of companies. The TLDR version of it is, the Celsius Network lets you earn interest on your crypto and instantly borrow against it. And there are no fees, ever. There are more than 50,000 active wallets using their services. And right now, they're offering users 10% annual interest on their crypto deposits. That's right, I kid you not, 10% annual interest on crypto deposits. That's not only unheard of in the traditional banking industry, it's also a pretty good deal from a crypto company. And right now, the Celsius Network is giving our listeners, you guys, $10 in BTC when you make a deposit of $200 or more in crypto or stable coins by using the promo code BitcoinMag. Again, the promo code is BitcoinMag. Check out their website today. Now, here's my interview with Catherine Coley. Hey, Catherine, welcome to the Bitcoin Magazine podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, so you're all over the place, and I wanted to know what you've been doing lately. You've done it seems like you do an AMA every night.
It's not too hard to find what we're talking about. So
For sure.
last night's AMA took place about 6 p.m. or so on the West Coast. Prior to that, I had been in New York for a couple of events kind of on that. Then we had SF Blockchain Week and we had LA Blockchain Week. And then before that, we launched. So it does seem like it's been a little bit of a worldwide tour, but still really United States focused, which is nice.
You're in San Francisco right now,
correct? Correct. Yeah. I moved out here actually from London when I left Wall Street. So I did 2 years in London and 4 years in Hong Kong prior, all within Morgan Stanley Foreign Exchange. And then kind of picked my head up and said, I could really go anywhere, but I didn't want to give up those hard years of learning markets. And so said, how can we apply this to technology in this other arena that I had no familiarity with called, the West Coast.
I thought you were going to say called crypto.
Oh, no, it was the West Coast first with
Yeah.
crypto as a backbone, knowing that's kind of where things were butting up. And then, most people would have the debate between New York and San Francisco in terms of which one's going to be kind of the crypto capital. And frankly, I think the whole point of crypto is that we don't have a capital.
True.
It's really anywhere and anyone. Twitter probably is the largest concentration of activity in terms of geography. But my sister and I had a funny pact when we were little around. She got New York and I got the world. So I stayed true to my word, and I've let her enjoy about 15 years in New York and Brooklyn and taken over the rest of the parts on my own.
I think I would take the world over New York. But,
many people would disagree. So who knows? Both of interesting lives.
So Binance US, you guys are in San Francisco. I know you're really decentralized. Like, is there actually a Binance US office or?
Yeah. So, for elements of how early we're starting off and in kind of the essence of Binance US being a separate company and kind of can carry over cultural elements, but also create some of our own. We do have offices in San Francisco. So we're all sitting here. A couple of our team members are in DC on the regulatory and legal side. So it's a lot easier to find someone that knows and loves DC than it is to find a San Francisco person that wants to spend 2 weeks out every month there. So, we've got a great team out in DC that's purely focused on kind of the regulatory front. So that's great to have them local there. And then our San Francisco team here includes, our finance, our customer support, our compliance and security and people.
And how many people are at your San Francisco office, like as of now?
Yeah, we're pretty much like sub 10 across the United States. So today we've got probably 5 of us in the office with a couple people working remote. But, the elements of our job and how we're expecting to build kind of a company that embraces technology, not only on a cryptocurrency front, but on kind of all elements that can make us a faster, better, stronger organization. One of the beautiful things has been the way that we can communicate doesn't require us to be facing each other.
Yeah. And you guys have done arguably some pretty incredible work the last 2 months. You've basically been launched and open in the US for the last 2 months. You operate in some states, not all states, and that's the big hurdle, obviously, is regulations. Can you sort of tell me where Binance US is just in terms of regulations, which states you're working towards, or how many generally?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we launched with 7 coins offered to 37 states. So that requires that you have a proof of address from one of the 37 states that we are operating in. And then as well that we expanded it to Puerto Rico as an additional area where we are able to service clients there. The ones that are remaining, there are about 13 that we are not able to operate in right now. Unfortunately, they're kind of the ones that are close to my own home. So you've got Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina, Louisiana, Alabama, Texas, a few others, New York included. And so there's some really strong states with great and vibrant crypto communities. And I hear them every day on Twitter of, when Connecticut, when Texas, and realize that it's a good thing to know people are eager to join our platform. It's a terrible thing to know that we can't operate there yet. So going through the state-by-state licenses is a requirement for being able to operate in certain states and jurisdictions that require money, MTLs or money transmitter licenses. So that's kind of our core focus, as well as being able to bring access to users through an app, being able to focus on access as the first part, delivering in-hand mobile access as well as across more states. Those are kind of our 2 main focuses, I'd say, for our first quarter out of the gates.
And actually getting validated in a state, that's just applying and getting a money transfer service license? Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, money transmission. So it's, I wish it was as easy as saying the word application sounds, but consider it more like, college admissions, where every state has a different essay question that they ask you to do. So each state has its own regulations and applications that require kind of advanced focus and delivery of what they're asking for. So really, it's quite a customized process state by state, and you hear back from them at different times. So my easiest way of connecting it is that college application process, where there isn't really a common application that you can get blanket licensing for. Kind of have to make sure that these are the best college essays you've ever written.
I mean, I imagine you didn't like New York's, but was there any state where you're like, actually, that was a fairly easy application?
I think they get easier and easier as we go because a lot of the fill-ins do look similar to the ones that we've previously filled out. But being able to know exactly what we're going to be offering in that state is something that we want to be proactive and plan for. And so being able to come up with the foresight for our planning as we go out already when we're considering operating in a state is something that takes a little bit of more effort than people are assuming, I think. But so does running an exchange. So there's a lot of fun components people don't see. I often think that there needs to be like a GoPro or a Nest Cam for people to witness what fun things happen over here. Given our size of our team, how small we are, but yet we're able to license globally validated technology and a globally recognized brand. Some people might take for granted how many hats we wear and kind of how scrappy we are in terms of our efforts.
Yeah, can you sort of define the relationship between Binance and Binance US?
Yeah, Binance US is a separate company, FinCEN registered here in the United States to be operating as a digital asset marketplace, really focused on providing not only the freedom of choice for our users, but an ease of access and global community that you're actually a part of in terms of interacting through the experiences that you have with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So I think there's a much larger global conversation that could be had. And the benefit that we get to use is, as I said, kind of globally validated technology. So we're able to license Binance.com's and Binance Global's technology for the purposes of suiting our customers, while we are also rolling out the platform within the US regulations.
Yeah. No easy feat. Catherine, I want to know how you actually got this role, because I actually have a theory.
Oh, I want to hear it.
What came first, Binance US or you getting hired?
Oh, they definitely are one and the other together. So it was pretty interesting. I mean, my first foray or step into crypto was really just around the personal frustrations of moving my own capital from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, given I lived internationally. So my first paycheck was in Hong Kong dollars, which you think is a fine currency until you realize, well, it's hard to pay for a flight somewhere else in Hong Kong dollars when that's not the accepted currency. So was burdened pretty quickly on, as well as familiar with FX markets / obsessed with global markets. And so crypto was like, oh, well, this will let me seamlessly move around the world and be able to encourage this, global mindset that I think has been a huge benefit to my own happiness and understanding of other people. And so I was like, oh, perfect. This is what crypto is going to solve this. But the thing that I lacked was the infrastructure to let me access this stuff. So when I was first learning about Bitcoin, some of the components of it just didn't resonate with me, given I had spent most of my career in a centralized organization like a bank and was really fee focused and was like, okay, $20 for a transaction and I'm going to be doing this all the time. Not necessarily worth it, et cetera. But then there was no other way to access these other currencies that moved faster or had a cheaper spend or cost. So I had to go work for them. So, I've been kind of dedicated to jumping in and making sure I can build the things that I really want in life. And one of the components, even after 2 years at Ripple, was recognizing that the US still had room for an opportunity to have like a seamless trading experience that others were able to experience globally with Binance. So I had kind of kept them on a radar clearly as a group that I respected entirely. We've kind of started our crypto journeys around the same time, that like summer of 2017. And so being able to see them grow as I was watching the markets and being actively involved in them definitely kept my eye on them. But the thing I didn't expect was about a year ago, we went to a Cumberland event in Singapore. Thank goodness I got the invite for that Cumberland event. It happened to be run by my Hong Kong karaoke partner, Justin Chow, from a prior life. So got the invite that way. And then sat down on the bus next to a guy and started talking, and it happened to be the CFO of Binance. So from a bus conversation, anything is possible. But we recognized that like for like, we were fish out of water, recognizing that there's so much that this technology can offer and help. We is from Alabama. I was from Florida. We had a bit of a common bond in that, and yet we both had experience in Asia in finance and just a lot of overlapping respect for each other. So the conversation kicked off from there. And we really just kept in touch, understanding how the market was evolving, evaluating how we both perceived certain aspects of the market. And then earlier this year, the time came and kind of was trying to figure out our ways to make this work together. And there were elements where, my skill set of understanding the exchange world, the market maker world, the institutions, and, ability to understand the protocol levels could really be beneficial, and how we could make this work, what it would look like. So once we kind of had the framework together and many conversations between several of the key players, the idea was spun up. So hence Binance US was born.
Oh, wow.
And we all lived happily ever after. No.
Yeah. But was I right? You came in and met them, and this is how Binance US happened?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel bad for folks that had the impression that, CZ and the Binance team was never going to be active or looking into working into the United States. And meanwhile, few people had known that that bus meeting had happened. So for all the efforts that they were not entering the United States, the relationship and my bond with their team was growing at the same time. So I think with that, confidence in a local partnership that could take place, we seemed to work out all right.
You're just hinting at it, but why do you think it has taken Binance so long to get into the American market?
I mean, when you think about the opportunities in cryptocurrency in general, and you think about from kind of two parts, one being the native use case and awareness of why it is necessary or why it works. Asia especially, but the rest of the world outside of the United States is burdened daily by cross-border transactions. The idea that every flight out of Singapore is an international flight just raises the awareness to people recognizing that like your Singaporean dollar is only useful in its, a small city state. So if you're moving, going to Malaysia, paying for your gas there, you're going to be having ringgit. Like it's a constant and daily process. And even living in Hong Kong, your wallet would have probably anywhere between like 6 and 7 currencies stuffed in it, just because the mobility within Asia is so rampant, as well as the burdens of currencies. And so that's why you see, an advancement of mobile payments taking place and kind of these leapfrog measures happening in Asia. And that also ties into another side of it, whereas the risk appetite outside of the United States for a solution is much higher. So, you've kind of already seen the countries of Europe come together under a unified currency plan. So there's, the efforts and appetites for that are somewhat subdued. Going from Italy to France is taken care of for you by the euro. But for Asia, there's as well that heightened sense of risk appetite for the idea that if the solution does work out, or if there is a higher return expected on even, their equities, for instance, the appetite to invest is higher. Disposable capital as well is quite robust in Asia and blossoming outside of the United States as well. So when I'm zooming out on really why would you go into the United States if you could, continue to develop a global ecosystem that really needs this, wants this, and demands it. The United States doesn't necessarily welcome it with open arms. There's the burdens of regulation. There's the already quite robust and, I think it's funny we call them legacy systems when they're still the systems that are used today. But capital markets here are some of the strongest in the world. You've got really, healthy alternatives for capital growth that take place within the United States that you don't necessarily get in other developing countries. So there's a lot to be gained not entering the United States. And so therefore Binance US is, separate company really focused purely on the United States. So I am able to make all of those difficulties / headwinds, you would call it, my opportunities, which helps us focus and, not be distracted by the bounty of opportunities outside, because I know that Binance.com and CZ is going to be taking care of those. So it's kind of a reverse focus to how my prior career has been, but one that I'm still really excited about.
Yeah, that was a hell of an answer.
Sorry. This is what happens. I was explaining to you that I didn't get my lunch break in. So the hungrier I am, the more wordy I get. So I'll try to be short.
Yeah, so I think it's like on your Twitter, you literally have a post that says, please direct message me if any issues on Binance US are not resolved within 2 days. So To me, we were talking about what you do and what it takes to run an exchange. I was actually wondering, like, it sounds like you are actually handling a lot of customer service yourself. Is that true?
That's absolutely true. But also, like, not to take credit away from our customer support team that actually does respond pretty quickly to, the other many questions that go out. But if you do have problems, I do respond to them, take your feedback, I take your complaints. The only people I don't reply back to are the ones that just say hi, or are the folks that love to start off with something inappropriate that doesn't need my response. So I'll try and chirp in. A lot of times when I'm slow to reply, it's because I'm in the middle of one of these podcasts, or potentially, trying to catch a couple hours of sleep. But I really do think that there's been such a difficulty with getting through these processes, given they are for the first time ever being part of our world. The intuitiveness of adopting different technologies. I think about all the apps that I have on my phone that I've just downloaded and begun to use. They're a little bit easier to go about than something where your own personal capital is being involved and your bank accounts are being linked and you're, going through a KYC process. So it does take a little bit of hand-holding, and I'm here for that. I don't think that attention to customers for sake of needing to scale faster is something we should neglect. If it doesn't resonate for you, or you're having difficulty with it, I don't want you to stop or slow down. I just want you to raise your hand and we can walk through it together. So whether that's on our part of making more intuitive features on our product, or having a more robust FAQs, or just being here for your every other pause or question, we can work through about 99% of the problems. And a couple of them, I'm stuck, and who knows exactly who I'm talking to on the other line, and I might be being taken for a go there. So maybe that's why we can't resolve their issue. But the landscape is what really fascinates me, because I'm not getting questions just from folks based in San Francisco or New York, or these coastal kind of hubs of where I would think the adoption would be starting. I'm getting, great responses from Ohio, from Texas, people that are, telling me all that they're working on within Texas, that they can't get access to this, and I'm slowing down their own development, which is a burden I don't like to bear. But it's really given us a great sense of how functional our product can be and what we do need to improve upon it. And the way that we operate internally, we're able to make those changes instantly or as soon as possible. So I find this hugely validating. I also just think it's, what better information than real time. So hearing people's steps, I've made the same mistakes a couple of times. I'm like, oh, I clicked on my dashboard, but I didn't click on my wallet. So, All right, I can make that more intuitive, because I keep doing the same things over and over again.
What are the most common questions that people come to you with?
Yeah, other than when and insert their state is probably the most common question I've gotten. The second kind of realm is, I've been able to go through the process, but I don't know why or what I'm doing for the advanced, basic, and fiat verification levels. So guiding them through, why they need to be going through the fiat verification. If you are looking for your $15 referral, it's probably because you haven't completed your fiat verification level, which really just the fiat verification allows for you to have a dollar wallet. And inside that dollar wallet, once it's set up, is where your $15 can go. But if there's something where you haven't received your referral, or you don't know where to go to find your referral code, I'm happy to help you guys out there on that side. And it's a quick process on mine, just to make sure that we can get people who've forgotten their passwords reset, folks that are confused about ACH, which is zero fees for deposit and withdrawal, getting them familiar with that. Or we've implemented debit cards for you to use your debit card to put dollars onto the exchange as well, walking them through those steps. And we started doing kind of videos to show you what it's like to go through those steps as well, so that you're not timid about clicking a button that you might not, know what happens beyond that button. So, continuing to try to make the process more educate you, not intimidate you.
So back to actually running an exchange. I mean, the thing that's like pretty clear is that you guys are coming in, and right now you're a small team and you are doing some damage, but you have to compete with not only like these legacy financial institutions, but also like even now legacy cryptocurrency exchanges, just in terms of the industry, I guess. I was curious, how do you think you guys are doing that successfully?
Yeah, I mean, I always said it was like super entitled of me to consider Gemini and Coinbase and Kraken and the likes to be our peers, given we were a month and a half old and quite a small team and not nearly at the same access levels that they were providing services to US users already yet. So I'll still say that like they've done a wonderful job pioneering in this space, especially for the United States. You know, what has been needed to take place, what roads have been paved and forged before us. I think about the issue with kind of banking partners has been made quite easy now, given that they've been able to prove the success and stability of these businesses. So major kudos to the teams that have been built and building the infrastructure as we know it. And with that comes kind of a slight, you can always flip a coin and figure out if it's a positive or negative, but I consider our late arrival almost a positive in the sense that we're able to see along the lines of their own roadmaps what has worked and what has not worked with the U.S. retail and institutional audiences. So our elements are, we know the technology that we're going to be delivering. We know kind of what we are aiming to stand for and bring to contribute to the community of broadly just U.S. consumers and users that want to be able to access and manage and grow their own personal capital. So from there, I think there's plenty more minds, voices, and opinions that we can get involved in crypto. And we're just doing our part to welcome those folks.
Putting it quite simply, I feel like you guys have done an excellent job right out of the gate of cutting transaction fees. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, one of the kind of lowering the barriers to entry is something that I think about, having navigated really unwelcoming waters my whole life. So, these hurdles that are put in place are sometimes psychological and sometimes real. And some of those real ones include fees and cost to access markets. So if there is a percentage that you're having to pay in order to get access to learn about crypto, how can we lower that so that your learning process doesn't become a penalty to your own future development? So our process is now, when you sign up with a Binance US account, you get 30 days of free trading on top of getting $15 for setting up that account. And so the idea is that, if you want to learn about crypto, start first with money that showed up in your account, start second with getting into testing out different trades without getting the penalty of transaction fees. And then really you'll gain a sense of confidence and awareness of what you need to be doing in order to increase that amount or learn how it's going to be suited for your own needs. But I really think that the training process of getting people familiar and understanding, I myself am a kinetic learner. So for someone to tell me, read the white paper and you'll figure out Bitcoin, it wasn't that easy for me. I had to kind of poke it and prod it. And given there weren't that many previous models that felt or smelled or looked the same, it was difficult to get my head really wrapped around it. But trying out exchanges, understanding how they worked, that was so familiar to me from an FX trading perspective, that hoping to be able to deliver something that connects with anyone.
Yeah, not to keep harping on other exchanges, but like if you were to exclude Binance completely in the last couple of years, crypto or any kind of money, what do you think was an interesting thing done by an exchange? Like, what's an interesting feature in the last couple of years you've seen where you're like, I appreciate that?
I mean, I certainly appreciate the drive down of trading fees that we've seen most recently from the traditional players. I think that's a clear symbol that they are going to be more innovative with their businesses and be able to create revenue streams that do not include just taxing transactions. So I think that's something that says in the right direction, they're going to be providing services that are beyond just collecting transaction fees. But with the idea that I think, or definitely is the reason why I wanted to be a partner to Binance, is they think about changing of the space at a holistic level of the company and the community, more so than just the product. So the product itself is excellent, but more importantly is how they're running their teams, how they're running their engagement with their customers. And that to me has more layers of innovation that I want to be a part of than just coming up with a cool feature set.
And I imagine you guys are like hands full at the moment. You're still sort of in the launching phase, so to speak, in certain states. Part of me that wonders, is there any common reason you see users onboarding to Binance US?
Think there's a couple elements that we see users coming over. One being, yes, the low fees and the excitement of testing out a platform, being able to have the confidence in the matching engine and then kind of experience that they've either seen before or are aware that that's how the rest of the world trades. So being able to talk in parallels with, some of the largest players globally, it gives them an easy sense of understanding of how the markets are trading. That's kind of for your ambitious active trader that would want to be kind of keenly aware of how Binance US is going to be developing. The other one would be kind of just as the world works, frustrated customers that want to try something new and, might be fed up with fees, might be fed up with customer interactions or, their own reasons for wanting to jump ship from where they currently set up shop. The last one is around just brand new entrants. So people that have maybe heard about something but knew they did not have access to it previously, now that we can open up access to US dollar on-ramps for 25 coins. That gives some folks that were really followers of certain projects an area where they can be supportive of their activities there. And so we've seen a great kind of rush from the communities where we've listed coins kind of come in. And then at sometimes, those communities are a little quieter than we would expect. And, you kind of have to ask, well, maybe they're all concentrated in states that we aren't operating in. Or maybe they're just waiting for the Thanksgiving Day special where they might get $30 when they let people sign up, first 15. So who knows? We've done a good effort to lower those hurdles, encourage people that do have appetite for trading to receive better rates as their volume of trading goes up on our platform. And then anyone that's holding more than 0 BNB gets 25% off of their trading volume. And then as you grow with your volume and you're kind of tiering, so does your discounts. So in the United States, we've got such a scale of no coin to devout daily, probably 100% crypto native. We really need to be able to offer a product that welcomes all parties, encourages consistency of trading from those that are active, and kind of helps people grow up into a crypto native world. I think about how the generation after mine didn't know that Venmo didn't exist prior. It's like, oh, it's how we would send money is through that. Or I'm like, oh, really? We would, feel like it was carrier pigeon when I was growing up. But, there's so many ways that people are going to be now adopting the technology because they see it as organic to their own lifestyle or beneficial to expanding their own opportunities.
Yeah, I don't want to be talking too much about like future product offerings because I've heard you on other podcasts and it's very clear you guys are doing what you can right now, and the main move has been to try and be operating in all states.
I mean, the beauty of it is given the license and the partnership that we have is you can see the plethora of features and elements that we could license and bring over given all that Binance's ecosystem has built out. But the timing question and the licensing question is really just what we are, focused on making sure that when we're building this out, it's being built for our US consumers. So, I want to know exactly what they're keen to get out of a future platform before we start implementing, development on something. Of course, there's some elements where our team is raising our hand and saying, well, we'd actually like this, from day one, I wanted an app. So that's always been kind of in the cards, the ability to have more coins than just, 5 or so. I've always wanted to have that to make sense. There's so many features that we've been seeing from the market itself, from Binance. You can guess that we're making sure our appetite and our eyes are all aligned.
So in general, how are you guys thinking about it? Are you thinking about features, or is it a question about adoption, how you can bring in more people?
Great question. I'm trying to find a metaphor for this, but it's a little bit of once you know how to do something, you feel like the rest of the world is playing at your speed, so that if you accelerate, the rest of the world will accelerate. And in reality, although we've, you and I have both been privy to knowing where Bitcoin Magazine is being involved in crypto Twitter and understanding the different products that are popping up and the investments that are taking place on these, revolutionary layers of technology. You got to remember, like, at the end of the day, not everyone's heard of it. So I was in an Uber ride to the high school classes that I was going to teach. And, talking to the Uber driver, and I was like, I'm really nervous. I'm going back to high school for the first time since I graduated. And let's just say I wasn't cool. And, I'm like, still having PTSD that they might beat me up for being such a nerd. But I told him, I was like, yeah, I've run a cryptocurrency exchange. And he goes, oh yeah, that's that stuff, all the football players do with their shoes off. And I had the longest time going like, what on earth? I'm like grabbing for straws to make sure there's some connection. And then I realized that he thought I ran a cryotherapy organization.
Oh, like those freeze.
Like the freezers, right.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my, what if every single time someone mentioned crypto, people thought we were talking about freezers?
You're like some wellness coach.
Yeah, you're like, I was, I'm running this thing and it's great. Everyone from around the world can come and, freeze and lower their inflammation. No. So, I educated him. I was like, oh, no, actually, sorry, crypto, not cryo. And then his eyes lit up because he was like, whoa, I could do this on the side of doing 30 rides a day on Uber. He was saving up for college tuition for his daughter and, just get that understanding that, on top of this, there could be, a second source of, revenue for his life outside of, currently driving for Uber and on top of his other side gigs. So, it was really remarkable for him to put the dots together in a 15-minute car ride just once it was explained in person. And maybe our narratives are not reaching the audiences that we think they are. And because we talk a lot to people that are already crypto fanatics, we miss the part that a lot of this might be resonating in an echo chamber. So, I have to think that there's only a small portion of the world that is financially literate. There's going to be even a smaller portion of the world that's crypto literate. So what can we do to, leapfrog financial literacy and get people ahead to crypto literacy and help that fill in the blanks where they might be afraid to discuss money or discuss wealth growth. And I think that's one of the bounties that this has built a global conversation about owning your own value. And that's something that's really more important than we think.
I just have 3 last questions. So you've lived in several major cities and on several different continents in your career. And I was just curious, which city had the best food?
Oh, that's Singapore for me, hands down.
Singapore, really?
Yeah, the melting pot that is Singapore brings in Malaysian, Chinese, Tamil, which is like more towards Indian cuisine, and English and often British elements. So you get some of the greatest spices, some of the freshest fruits. You're down by the equator, so everything is just quite ripe. Really, really remarkable culinary experience. And it can happen based on hawker stands, which are places that you just sit outside and watch someone that's made the best Hainanese chicken rice for the last, century. And you sit outside and recycle your dishes and put them all together. So really a wonderful experience. So Singapore is the best. The funniest one, I lived in Denmark for 6 months and they have a tax on sugar. And I am between gummy bears and frozen burritos, that's core subsistence of my wellness. But it was interesting just to see the exorbitant priced sweets, but also no one there is partaking. So
yeah, does it cost more?
Oh my God. Yeah. It was like a bag of gummy bears would be like $15. It was crazy. But they're smart, you tax sugar and, people aren't going to be inclined to use it, but they all look good over there in Denmark too.
Okay. Blockchain technology. Is there a meaningful use case of it outside of cryptocurrency?
I think given that I fell in love with Excel early on for its benefits, an advanced version of a database and a spreadsheet that can do the automation on behalf of a larger audience, not allowing one central party to be the source of truth, that to me can work in any business. So it's just an element of making it fit and maybe taking away the hot button item of adding the word blockchain, but recognizing that you can have updating databases for all types of businesses. I think it's super useful.
Yeah. And do you play an instrument?
Yeah, I played my voice, I guess. I used to sing a cappella in high school and college, and then learned the piano when I was little.
So I was going to ask, if you had to be a musician, what instrument would you play?
Bass.
Bass,
for sure. Hey, you're the coolest person in the band, and you get the beat going.
Yeah, cool. I think we can end on that.
Appreciate it, Dave.
The
Bitcoin Magazine podcast is a BTC media produced podcast on the Let's Talk Bitcoin network. You can find us on Twitter at Bitcoin Magazine, and you can find out about other engaging shows we produce by subscribing to our feed on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.